Dear participants. Hello and welcome, dear participants. I am Gokhan Huseyin, Assistant Professor at the Department of City and Regional Planning at the Faculty of Architecture in Karadeniz Technical University. I will be chairing this session. Once again, I would like to welcome all participants, presenters, and the attendees to the 8th International Congress of LivenArch held in the city of Trabzon. We are at the first day of this 3 days long scholarly activity, which will be held online. The Congress aims to discuss two dynamics in relation with the concept of generations in architecture. The idea of the Congress revolves around the processes of regeneration and degeneration. We all had the opportunity to listen to the first keynote speaker, Carlo Ratti from MIT, on the ideals and practices of sensible cities. We saw some visually enjoyable presentation with digital water pavilions, self-driving robots, and etc. Now ahead, there are several sessions and presentations in the program for elaborate discussions. And I believe that these sessions, which are dual parallel sessions, will be full of rich and enlightening proceedings. Now, in our turn, the team here at the first session in room 2 has a fourfold conceptual frame, which is the urban, city, landscape, and rural concepts, which covers. We have four proceedings from 4 universities. Three proceedings are from our home country, Turkey, and one proceeding is from about 17,000 kilometers away from us, from the wonderful land of New Zealand. Welcome, dear colleagues. One of our presenters is missing right now, perhaps due to some technical problems. Therefore, the order of the proceedings has changed a bit. If any other suggestions, if there are any other suggestions, I will change the order a bit. The second presenter will present in the first place, and we will be waiting for the first presenter. And because the Congress is held by video presentations, they will be made right after. The question and answer part will be in the end of the session, if it's convenient for you. So I will make the video presentations one by one, and we will have some time to discuss and post questions and answers in the end of the session. Our first proceeding is by Fulay BILGE from the Department of Architecture at Atılım University, drawing on observations of the capital city of Ankara, a discussion on spatial segregation, publicness, and future prospects concerning disciplinary boundaries is at the core of this presentation. And now it is time for the video presentation. We may proceed with her presentation.
Hello everyone, my name is Fulay BILGE from Atılım University, Urban Transformations. Hello everyone, my name is Fulay BILGE from Atılım University, Urban Transformation, Spatial Segregation in Urban Space. Since the 1980s, cities have come under the influence of an economic and political order in which capital has come to the fore with the implementation of neoliberal policies. During this period, the urban area rapidly became commodified as a result of the change in the government's attitude towards capital and society. Public spaces were fragmented with the increase in social inequalities. This study aims to highlight the change in urban space and the spatial segregation process that arises in new settlements in developing cities, and to reveal the criteria for intervening in urban space for the development of urbanity and the creation of livable public spaces. Within this scope, the contributions of changing planning practices and spatial segregation to different dimensions of new living and sharing spaces will be discussed through the urban transformation of Ankara-Çukurambar neighborhood. The change of the area is documented by analyzing written and visual sources, urban plans made for Ankara and Google Earth satellite photographs at different scales. Urban space is in a process of being shaped by globalization, acquiring new functions and transforming simultaneously or through various interventions. The increase in population, economic situation, and the administration of the state are effective in the fragmentation of urban space. We have recently seen an increase in urban transformation realized through the intervention of local governments. The use of urban space by different social groups leads to spatial segregation. Spatial segregation is shaped in different ways in cities, depending on the geography, structure, development process, and the say of the public and private sectors in the management of the city. It emerged for different reasons and brings different together. Çukurambar, which was a small village with agricultural features and grain fields in the early 1950s, and the slum area in the 1960s, started to change with the amnesty laws that emerged after 1980 and gained a different transformation momentum with the rehabilitation zoning plan in 1984. In this transformation process, the formation of new settlement areas for the upper income group outside the city center and the displacement of a certain social group from the center caused lower income group to choose a place in the slum areas. As a result of global policies, gentrification has begun and spatial production for capital owners has started in the city. Located in the southwest of Ankara, Çukurambar neighborhood is situated at this intersection of Eskişehir Road on the west axis, Konya Road and Malazgirt Boulevard on the east axis. At the end of the 1990s, the demolition of slums and the construction of skyscrapers, the area is largely owned by the private sector, the shift of the city center towards the west. Looking at the spatial transformation of the area through plans, the plan prepared in 1982 makes the decentralization of the urban population to the west towards the Çukurambar region. The rehabilitation zoning plan, which envisaged a lower population density, was prepared for the area, and the spatial transformation of the area was based on this plan with the revision of the zoning plan in 1993. The diversity of land use decisions in Çukurambar existing zoning plan creates different patterns in daily life. When the distribution of functions is analyzed, there are residential and commercial areas, public areas, urban service areas that include office, shopping, and entertainment. The architectural forms of the buildings and the spaces they live in the area determine the quality of activities in daily life. With the planning decisions made in the area, architectural project designs were realized with a single parcel and a holistic approach was not followed. The production of the urban built environment is based on plan change on a parcel basis rather than being planned. There are few green areas in the region. Building island texture were analyzed through zoning plans and Google Earth images. The most intense construction was between 2015-2019. This density has led to a decrease in green areas. Urban growth has spread day by day, and social and spatial segregation has occurred. In urban spaces, public spaces are the places where people interact, socialize. Çukurambar neighborhood has urban spaces where public and semi-public private spaces are separated. The areas created as public in the plans were revealed, and the current uses were examined through field observations. Only property and land use decisions were made in the plans. In the analysis of the urban spaces outside the designs on the fragmented island parcels lacked continuity. Field study shows that plan amendments increase the parcel-based approach and individual interventions. The characteristics of the urban built environment are transformed through plan amendments at the scale of a single parcel, and these transformations also affect their surroundings, causing the immediate surroundings to experience the same transformation. In the case of the Çukurambar neighborhood, urban transformation, which emerged in Turkey in the late 80s, changes in planning and interventions have led to transformation in the physical and social structure of the area. Transformation processes have affected not only the physical, but also the social and societal spheres. The fragmented decisions taken for the region have led to the inability to design the area as a whole. Analyses have been carried out in order to ensure social interaction and maintain publicness in Çukurambar neighborhood, which has undergone a rapid urban transformation process and is under the influence of the main axis and that hosts intense vehicle traffic and use around it. In the results obtained, public still couldn't be provided due to physical and social boundaries in the designs made at the island parcel exact scale in the region, and the continuity of public city in the whole area is not formed. The high number of mixed-use buildings in the region, their appeal to middle and upper income levels, and their limited use and access provide living spaces where social relations are weak. As seen in the case, the changes made in city plans in the production of urban space are not sufficient to change the qualitative characteristics. Therefore, it's believed that interdisciplinary studies will be developed in many areas, such as creating the permeability between public and private spaces in cities, planning the borders of these areas with a holistic approach, ensuring the continuity of public open spaces, establishing urban-citizen relationship, and creating livable urbanism. Thank you for listening to me.
What is the efficacy of...
Thank you, Fulay, UYSAL, your presentation of the question of segregation clearly and dramatically, especially regarding the capital city of Turkey. I believe questions and comments will be posted by the end of the session. Now, the second proceeding is by Juan SALUD and Andre Brown from the Victoria University of Wellington. I really appreciate the systematic form and content in their submitted abstract, providing a deeper understanding of the growth and change behavior of informal settlements by computational simulation models. Welcome once again, and please let us watch their presentation right now.
Hello everyone, my name is Juan SALUD and I'm here to present our research titled Interpreting and Understanding Informal Settlement Growth, a Computational Approach. This research was done alongside Professor Andre Brown of the Victoria University of Wellington, located in New Zealand. Over 1 billion of the world's population resides within informal settlements. These are communities with a lack of water, sanitation, utilities, and an inadequate quality of living. These are problems we must solve, and in doing so, we must not neglect who the space is inhabited by. By its definition, the terms informal and formal are antonyms. However, there are instances in which a formal design, built on formal principles, is proposed as a solution to an informal problem. The Pruitt-Igoe complex of 1953 is an example of such. A design that does not follow the nature of its intended inhabitants and their lifestyle, which ultimately succumbs to decay or downfall. In order to create a truly informal-centric design, we must look at real-world interactions of the inhabitants themselves and build around their observations. As a subject vulnerable to the implications of rapid urbanization, informal communities are in constant change and growth, not just referring to the rise in settlement population, but the adaptation and the choices made in response to the situation. The goal of the following research is an attempt to utilize observations of change within an informal settlement as a tool that informs us of future change. The Kowloon walled city of the 20th century was a highly dense informal settlement afflicted with a rising population and an inadequate static land mass. With an inability to expand laterally, inhabitants of the space are left to expand vertically. The choices and adaptations within informal settlements are based on logical processes, a direct response to an issue. Another example within the settlement is the act of splicing into electricity mains and water supply as a means of providing utilities to expanded dwellings. However, the immediate response based on logic is not always the most optimal. These power boxes increase risk with each addition. Informal settlements are still unoptimized. The following research questions: what is the efficacy of implementing observational rules of informal behavior within a cellular automaton environment? Logical rules implemented within a predictive medium, a cellular automaton in this case, to be utilized in the future to produce a design preserving lifestyle, mitigating detriments, and optimizing longevity. The simulations within the research operate at and emulate only the two-dimensional mapping of settlements. The experiment started with the game of life as a base model originally developed by John Horton Conway. There are two main reasons in choosing this as the base. Firstly being that the model emulates life, even more so as it is a decay model, allowing greater comparison with our developed growth model. Secondly, the game of life utilizes three simple sets of rules and is able to create complex outcomes: birth, survival, and death. These are the main agent rules that we will be manipulating. The development of the model involved redefining the birth, survival, and death rules of the game of life to resemble informal behavior. Throughout the research, numerous tests and explorations regarding agent rules had been conducted. One variation displays high-density cell population emerging from strong centers, whilst another has the tendency to expand in a grid-like pattern. In this case, this behavior could resemble the reliance of informal dwellings to its adjacent units to maintain structural integrity. In addition to the birth, survival, and death rules, neighborhood types are also an agent factor that was explored. However, as shown by the testing, the original game of life with the default more neighborhood value of 1 is the only behavior that was coherent. The rest were apparent chaotic. A major model development was to have different rules applied to different regions whilst retaining cooperation. The environment rules were also to be developed. The designation of attractors, cells that had a higher inclination to be alive, deterrents, cells that had the inclination for death, and uninhabitable cells, also with varying cell values, as well as defining the edge boundary rules were explored. An informal map is required to provide the environmental features to model. In this instance, a segment of Tondo Manila was chosen. The outcome contained 3 rule sets pertaining to 3 regional densities within the Tondo Manila segment: a high, a medium, and a low. However, in addition to the rules, the environment is also altered from the previous stage. Therefore, the organization of the cells varies between densities. The birth, survival, and death rules of the 3 densities follows their description, populating the environment in an expansive manner. However, the most important behavior of this simulation is the areas of change, the birth and death of cells. The areas of change are directed in the outskirts of the blocks, whilst the inner cells are more inclined to survive. This is a direct resemblance to informal behavior, as the street-faced dwellings have the most interaction with people and are commonly used as business frontages, whilst the inner cells are dwellings that are heavily attached to the adjacent structures, thus decreasing the likelihood for major change. The research outcomes show that the iterative process led to a reasonable simulation of informal settlement growth and change. The simulation appears to exhibit complex yet valid replication of actual behavior. This is achieved through the development of a rule-based cellular automaton. The simulation model revolves around a recognition of human-centric behavior. However, at this stage, the primary role of the simulation is not settlement optimization. Instead, it is focused on the validity of predicted growth and change in informal settlements. If we can understand and can predict informal settlement changes, the negative aspects can be minimized and the potential for applying a positive influence can be increased. Thank you.
Dear Gokhan, Huseyin, ERKAN, your microphone is closed, I think. Can you check it, please?
Okay. I would like to thank Juan, SALUD, and Andre Brown for this visually and sophistically dense presentation. Understanding the complex structure of social phenomena requires using advanced information technologies, and computational modeling is, I believe, among the most promising tools to this task. Now, if there will be any questions or comments or contributions from the attendees, please keep for the end of the sessions. Now we have come to the third proceeding by Gulden KURTULDU and Neslihan DOSTOGLU from Istanbul Kültür University. The abstract promises a critical insight towards the phenomenon of gated communities from a specific standpoint, the neighborhood unit, the idea of the neighborhood unit. And we may proceed with this presentation now.
Hello, I am Gulden KURTULDU. This paper is a small part of my doctoral thesis, which I conducted with Professor Dr. Neslihan DOSTOGLU. Firstly, the purpose of the study. Within the scope of the study, through the example of Silivri, it is aimed to express the discourse differences and the reasons for which gated communities are presented to the customer, to analyze the current discourses through selected sample projects, and to reveal the reflections of these discourses on the project. The methodology of the research was specified as discourse analysis on advertisements and brochures in print and visual media sources, to analyze marketing strategies, and project analysis based on planning and place fiction to make target indicator comparisons. Study area. Silivri, which was specified as a study area, is an old settlement that forms the western border of Istanbul. It is a coastal settlement that has continuously expanded its borders by being exposed to various migrations and influences over time. While the city spread along the coastal line for a while due to the highway limiting the city center, it has also spread to the upper region to provide the needs of the growing population over time. Unlike the central residences, this region called Yeni Mahalle is home to gated communities, which are the subject of the research, and there are 103 gated communities in this region. Sample group. 103 gated communities in Yeni Mahalle were evaluated in terms of providing quality data and complying with gated community standards, and 24 houses were excluded. The 79 housing areas that provide the standards were analyzed in terms of accessibility of marketing data, and 6 housing areas belonging to different periods were selected as a sample group in order to reveal the changes in marketing and advertising strategies. These are Elit Vizyon, Makro Hill, Atabek Konutları, Kasaba Evleri, Yuva Konutları, and Pehlivanoğlu Yaşamkent. The promotional text of selected residential areas obtained from printed and digital media sources were analyzed by discourse analysis method, and the discourses in the projects were conceptualized and matched with project indicators. Results and evaluations. As a result of the analysis of 6 gated communities in Silivri, it has been specified that the projects mostly focus on the concept of privileged life, innovation difference, exclusivity prestige, and social life. In midterm projects, the concept of elite habitat community and neighborliness stand out. In the projects produced in recent years, the emphasis on belonging and quality is at the forefront. The most emphasized concept in the projects is privileged living. This concept is often defined by the qualities that residential areas possess and is constructed with the slogans of separation from others and a different life. These discourses are supported by physical equipment in the project images, and the border element is emphasized as an indicator of privileged living. The second concept is that of innovation difference. This concept is reflected in place representations with images of places that combine commerce and daily life. Projects that emphasize this concept are identified with the emphasis on a new living space. The concept of exclusivity prestige is addressed through the emphasis on comfort. Representations of luxury and quality life are brought to the forefront, and the elite life inside is emphasized from an outsider's perspective. The concept of social life is expressed through social facilities in all projects. In the representations of place, communal areas, sports and playgrounds are shown, and the swimming pool and activities around it are the dominant expression of social life. The concept of elite habitat community is expressed in only one project through the act of being together with similar people. Representations of place are presented through crowded communities living modern lives. The concept of quality is emphasized with quality materials and high standards, and well-designed interior images are included in the place representations. Finally, the concept of neighborliness remained only a discourse and was not supported by representations of place. Gated communities, which merge with the idea of creating a new living space suitable for the age and presented with the concept of innovation difference, offer a privileged life isolated from the outside world. However, these housing areas, which are new to Silivri, have been in existence throughout Istanbul for some time. This situation causes the innovation attempt to remain in the background. While the concept of innovation difference is emphasized in all of the sample projects, which are accepted as a new approach for the period and location in which they are located, the place representations expressing this concept are similar to each other. Representations include images that combine trade and living place. However, the fact that these houses create a new alternative for the location and well-known alternative for the customer causes the theme of innovation difference to focus on a new life approach. In this direction, the expression of a new life discourse reveals that the representations of a place reflecting the theme of innovation are insufficient, and the practice of new life is based on the images of life within the housing estate representing social life. Sample project images show that recent projects are equipped with the ideal life representations to attract customers. Although the projects highlight the use of quality materials and well-thought-out places, the interior representations that support the discourses in the project images are insufficient. Projects mostly focus on commonplace qualities and emphasize social facilities in order to impress the customer. Marketing discourses often highlight the theme of unique sea views and nature as a sign of privileged living. However, the Yeni Mahalle region is far from green landscapes due to its location and lacks a view due to the increase in the number of housing estates in recent years. For this reason, the green environment and landscape qualities seen in the project representations to support the discourse give the housing areas a virtual reality that is far from the context in which they are located. This situation shows that the representation of an ideal life that does not exist in reality is used as a powerful marketing strategy and shows the manipulative effect of the media. As a result, the marketing discourses of gated communities, which have been designed in recent years to provide the physical and social needs of individuals involved in modern life, try to create an ideal life construction that is isolated for a certain group and powered by social activities. In this way, it aims to improve the sense of community of individuals by offering a common living space for the individuals who become lonely in modern life. However, as these discourses are insufficient in the representation of place, it is seen that the ideal life practices promised the customer do not find a reflection in the projects and are used as demand-increasing strategies that create a hollowed-out virtual reality. In order to analyze the success of residential areas, which have not been successful enough in reflecting discourses to place representations in creating an ideal life in real life, the social dimension of the work must also be taken into account. For this purpose, the study is planned to be conducted through surveys or face-to-face interviews with the people living in the identified housing areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Gulden, AKINCI, KURTULDU, and Neslihan DOSTOGLU for this critical presentation on the somehow prevalent form of a housing idea or the so-called new, but this old-fashioned community sector. I believe there will be some questions and comments in the end of the session for this great presentation. Now, as you will recall, we had changed the order of the session. Now, the fourth and the final presentation by Selensu DEMIR, we are going to listen to, from the Department of Architecture at DOSTOGLU University. We'll be presenting the process and outcomes of a design studio project, I think with their students, which is focusing on rural and urban areas from a different standpoint. Now, we may proceed with this presentation now.
Hello everyone, my name is Selensu DEMIR. Today I will be presenting my paper titled Rural-Urban Dialectic Architectural Studio Example. The Industrial Revolution brought significant technological advancement and mechanization, reshaping society from agrarian focus to industrialized. Industrialization and capitalism changed daily life practices, personal dynamics, working concepts, and social relationships, altering people's connection with their surroundings. Formerly, the rural area, which was the center of all kinds of production, has now separated from cities and emerged as a distinct zone referred as an agricultural land. Meanwhile, urban centers receiving rural migration grow crowded, mechanized, and standardized. As a result, the modern society has become dichotomized with big urban belts at one end and highly industrialized agricultural zone at the other. This has resulted in emergence of the rural-urban dichotomy. Rural-urban dichotomy has initiated a degenerative process in living spaces by separating the organic connections between the rural-urban areas. According to Marx, mass urbanization, the division of labor, and the challenges stemming from the transition to capitalism are primary factors contributing to the rural-urban divide. The division of labor and the rural-urban dichotomy have both directly and indirectly resulted in weakening of various relationships. In essence, society has nearly reached the point of disconnect from nature. While the exact beginning of the distorted relationship with nature is unclear, it likely began with mechanistic and anti-ecological views before the Industrial Revolution. In the Anthropocene age, a prevailing mechanistic and anti-ecological worldview dissects and mechanizes our surroundings, missing the holistic nature of life and the environment. From this perspective, the concepts of degeneration and regeneration also have a dialectical relationships, as is the case in every interaction. In the dialectical perspective, contradictions are fertile grounds where new ideas and understandings emerge beyond simple conflicts. Therefore, when examining the rural-urban dichotomy, through the concepts of rural-urban dialectic, a meaningful discourse for renewal can be generated. Within the scope of this study, the relational integrity of rural-urban dynamics is referred to as the rural-urban dialectic. This concept goes beyond the traditional division between rural-urban areas, highlighting their complementary nature and stressing the need for a holistic approach. The rural-urban dialectic can help alleviate problems such as overpopulation, unemployment, vulnerability to disease and disasters, and rural-to-urban transformation. The idea of rural and urban areas mutually supporting each other and reimagining their relationship is a key focus in the 2021 World Social Report by United Nations. UN takes a comprehensive approach to address the challenges posed by unfavorable urban conditions. This report underscores the problematic nature of the distinction between rural and urban areas. The issue of re-evaluating rural and urban areas, as currently underlined by the UN, has been a topic of discussion within the top university department of architecture's diploma studio. Within the studio scope, students are expected to redefine rural-urban relationships and offer a renewed way of life in the rural areas they choose. The studio assignment highlights two key aspects of rural development. First, the principle of do not harm to rural areas, and the second, the concepts of in-situ urbanization aiming to improve rural living standards while preserving their unique characters. This study aims to examine the rural-urban interaction as an architectural design topic by considering the designs, discussions, and student research conducted in the studio with the goal of presenting the result of investigation. The ongoing urbanization process and degenerative conditions have put rural areas in Ankara at risk of losing their remaining value and being absorbed by urban environment. Therefore, design areas were specifically chosen from rural areas that are in danger on the brink of abandonment and have lost their value over time. Students have discovered 20 different rural design areas within these regions. So, 20 different design proposals have been developed. Design proposals generally revolve around uncovering the potential of area and presenting various types of development to region. In some areas, the focus is on agricultural development and initiatives related to livestock, while in others, the emphasis is placed on bringing out the existing values of the rural area. These proposals have been designed while considering the spatial requirements of contemporary living, supported by new technologies that encompass mobility, transportation, production, trade, work, and socialization. In studio process, the introduction of local characteristics and non-agricultural activities to rural areas has been a topic of discussion. Various research and development centers have been proposed in these areas to enhance the existing value of rural regions. Some of the proposed solutions have taken into account not only the individual development of the selected rural area, but also its relationship with neighboring villages. This way, the aim is to ensure the in-situ development of each region. The motto "First Do Not Harm" not only preserves local rights, but also maintains the balance of nature of rural development. In conclusion, within the studio process, quality is necessary to support rural development, enhance regional vitality, maintain close ties with urban areas, stimulate economic growth, and enable youth population to stay in rural settlements have emerged. These qualities have been categorized under 7 headings, and each design proposal incorporates at least a few of these aspects. Hence, rural areas, with the support of infrastructure, transportation, and new technologies, can offer a compelling option for the local population to reside, receive education, engage in research, and find employment within rural communities. Thus, rural areas can become economically, culturally, and socially developed within such a dialectical relationships. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Selensu DEMIR, for this presentation. I believe the metropolitan municipality in the capital city, Ankara, are open to such project proposals. You might think about making some connection with the municipality, because they are struggling with how to deal with the rural areas in the capital city. And I see some academy and municipal relations are at stake after some years with so good relations in the capital city. Now, I will check for the question and answers part, but there are no posted questions or comments yet. So I may return to our presenters once again if to see if they would like to express their ideas and whether they would like to add some additional material to their presentations. And besides, we will be waiting for the posted question and answers. Now, you may add your additional ideas to your presenters, if there are any. The technical friends, our technical friends can help this.
Of course, you can ask your questions behind Q&A part. You can write your questions.
Okay, it was it.
I don't think we can put questions in the question and answer panel. I tried to open that and it says no open questions.
No, there are no open questions, but you may make comments and ask questions to other presenters, of course.
Okay.
Okay, I think there are no.
Okay, I'll ask a couple of questions. Gulden, I was talking about gated communities. Is there an intention to look at the issues such as sense of community in other kinds of communities, such as co-housing and cooperative housing? I ought to apologize that you're working in English when clearly it would be a lot easier for you all to have a conversation in a different language.
Gülden,
Evet hocam. Hocam siz katılmak ister misiniz?
okay, the question is about, Gülden is my doctoral student, and so she's working on her PhD. The question is related with other types of housing in addition to gated communities, but Silivri is a very interesting settlement because there are so many different kinds of housing areas in that area. You know, it's like seaside residences, the old city center, which is very historical, you know, like many different types of housing in that sense. And the gated communities have just started, but it has it is quite different from the gated communities in Istanbul area, for example. It's more so Gülden is not trying to sympathize with these, you know, like but she's trying to find out the differences among the ones in Silivri and the ones in other places, but also she found something which is very unique for this region, because Silivri is, as I explained, the central area especially is so interesting in terms of neighborhoods and the relationship between people in that central area. But young people are maybe trying to find this idea of neighborhood concepts in these new gated communities in a different way. So this is her main topic, but she's not going to look at cooperative. She's analyzing all those, but her main topic, her main case study will be the gated communities in that specific area.
Okay, thanks. It seemed like you mentioned young families. It seemed like the buildings that we were looking at had units that seemed to be quite separate. And if they're young families, wouldn't they have children in them? And it seemed surprising that there wasn't more community facility for children other than an open play area or park area.
Burada anladın mı soruyu bilmiyorum Gülden. Yani neden daha fazla çocuklar için bir alan olmadığını sordu, sadece oyun alanları haricinde. Onu söyleyebilir misin? Belki ben İngilizceye de çeviririm.
Hocam aslında bu aşama için onu bilmiyoruz. Zaten ileriki görüşmelerde bunu tespit etmeye çalışıyoruz. Şu an bununla ilgili bir bilgimiz yok. Çalışmanın ilerleyen aşamalarında topladığımız verilerle ancak bu soruyu cevaplayabiliriz.
Okay, the answer is since she has just started this topic, she doesn't have the answer yet, but in the further phases, she's going to get more clear answers related with this question.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for your questions. I also would like to make a small comment on your presentation. I really enjoyed your presentation and learned a lot. Thank you for that enlightening presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. Carlo Ratti in the keynote kind of told us that we might be doing it the wrong way and we should be using visual AI instead. But anyway, we can look at that as a possible alternative way forward.
Thank you for your contributions and questions.
I do have one more question, if there's time.
Of course.
This to Selensu, if I pronounce it correctly.
Yes, that's correct.
Interestingly, I currently have a PhD student who's from Turkey looking at the revival of rural towns in New Zealand. So maybe there's a significant overlap there. In the points that you made at the end, you summarized the points, and the last one was revival of existing potential. In the work that you were doing, what did you or the students you were working with identify as existing potential? Because the decline of rural communities is often because people don't see the potential because of changes of farming practice or whatever, which is the reason why they grew in the first place. Were you looking at particular ways of reviving existing potential, or what potential there is to revive?
Sorry, can you ask again, please?
All right, sorry, it was a very long question.
I'm sorry.
Where people move out of the small towns because they don't see potential in them.
Yeah.
What potential do you see in small towns that people are missing? What are people not understanding, and what do we need to do to realize the potential in these small towns?
Okay. I think the rural areas are really holistic productions. We can see a holistic production in these areas. So I think there are in the rural areas, I think there are so different lifestyles, and I think we need this style from our our new lifetime, because they always connect with nature, and they live with nature organically. So I think this is so important factor. And also I can say a lot of things, but now I say like that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you, all our presenters. I believe each generation gives its own questions and problems. And there is a clear example of the blackmail of modernity in terms of dualities, I guess. We see on the one side, Çukurambar and Silivri projects, gated communities and interesting neighborhoods. And besides that, we see the potential of the rural areas, either in the form of dualities or dichotomies or dialectics. To some, the space, the cities we live in is an opportunity to make profit, and to some, it is an opportunity to make good living, good life, good neighborhoods. So it is the task of our generations to decide which part is our professions going to track the path. Unfortunately, I have to close this session, and I would like to thank you to all of you for these comprehensive and mind-opening presentations. For the attendees and audiences, the next session starts at 16:15, and see you there soon. Thank you all of you again.
Thank you,
Mr.
Gokhan.
Gokhan, excuse me.
We might go to bed in New Zealand.
Mr. Gokhan, Huseyin, ERKAN, I am Barış, technical personnel. And there's a question. Can you see it? Q&A part.
Okay, yes. To SALUD and Brown, could you please, they ask, could you please elaborate on how you see the automaton and the algorithms being implemented in terms of making space equal? I don't believe I completely understood this from your presentation, asks Tanya Urso-Marzo. You are muted, Andre Brown. Could you please? Okay.
Well, I know. I'm waiting for Juan to answer that one. How do we try to ensure equality in the representation so that I think the answer is that we were trying to understand growth and represent it rather than try to enforce equality on the spaces and the buildings that people were building in those spaces. But it was early initial work. Did you have anything to add, Juan?
Yeah, perhaps the equality section would be answered in the optimization further development of our current stages, which currently our model only represents the visual, what we see, and what we see is mostly unequal. So having it equal would probably be an optimization factor in the next preceding models.
Yeah, the intention was try to model the behavior in this stage of the work that we were presenting, or that Juan was presenting.
Thank you once again.
Rather than design the behavior as a second phase. Thanks for the question.
I do not see any more questions. If the technical personnel can orient us to another one.
Yeah, you are right. There is only one question I see. Thank you.
Thank you. So I'm closing this section, and thank you all for once again.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.